It's unclear exactly why in 84 they go into Mysia, what this initial incursion is about. This had traditionally been their territory, at least part of Mysia had been their territory, and so possibly there is a desire to recover lost territory, or perhaps just desire for plunder and a recognition that there is a weakness that can be exploited.
Clearly, waging war on the other side of the Danube was a way to promote an elite of warriors, and clearly Decebalus had come to power as a consequence of that. In other words, waging war against the Romans was the best way for the aristocracy to come to political prominence.
As Rome's border comes under serious assault, the untested Emperor Domitian will rally his troops against a lethal barbarian foe. 84 AD. With the death of his brother, Domitian has unexpectedly become Emperor of Rome. Now he must prove himself against an unexpected enemy. Unprovoked, the Dacian barbarians have raided the province of Moesia and killed its governor. The Romans send Cornelius Fuscus and his legion in reprisal. The Dacians close in from all sides. This attack on Moesia is more than an assault on Roman rule. It's an assault on the emperor's personal prestige. The barbaric murder of a governor cannot go unanswered by Emperor Domitian.
And so what he's going to do is he's going to put in charge a successor, Cornelius Fuscus, who is hopefully going to take care of the problem. The problem with Cornelius Fuscus is he's a man who likes to take risks unnecessarily.
Domitian takes a risk too. By appointing this man who is not of senatorial class, he is openly defying the Roman Senate.
The Dacian forces confront him and inflict a major defeat on him. Such a significant defeat that his life is lost, his army is essentially annihilated, and the standards are taken. And this is a major blow for the Romans.
Rome pays for Domitian's misjudgment in the blood of its soldiers. But wars have other costs too. And it's the wealthy citizens of Rome who are forced to fund Domitian's expensive army. The emperor would stop at nothing to fill his coffers, writes 2nd century biographer Suetonius.
Reduced to financial straits by the cost of buildings and shows and the pay raises he gave to the soldiers, Domitian eagerly resorted to every sort of robbery. He used any charge to seize the property of the living and the dead. In this way, he became an object of terror and hatred to all.
All except the Roman army, whose loyalty Domitian has bought. With a new general installed after Fuscus's death, Emperor Domitian deploys his soldiers across the border to Tapai in Dacia. Now more than ever, the emperor must defeat Decebalus and regain Roman honor. He depends on auxiliary troops, foreign allies, paid to fight Rome's battles.
So Rome has to do something about this, because it's not just losing 2 governors, it's a matter of national prestige. You can't have this kind of hit-and-run raid, although killing 2 governors is much more than a hit-and-run raid, and not do something about it. So Decebalus had to be dealt with in some way.
As the Roman and Dacian forces clash again, Rome is determined to settle the matter once and for all. The Dacians are notoriously fierce fighters, but the Roman army, beefed up with auxiliary troops composed of barbarian allies, won't back down.
For the Dacians, the experience of fighting Romans is certainly going to be a terrifying experience. Not just because you're fighting a professional military that demonstrates its capacity and its organization at every turn, but also because you're going to be facing auxiliaries whose style of fighting are things that you've never encountered. You've never encountered people who look like this, or people who dress like this, or people who fight like this. And so the experience of a battle is going to be overwhelmingly a terrifying experience.
Until, at last, Decebalus and the Dacians are overwhelmed, and they retreat. But circumstances won't allow Domitian to press the advantage against the Dacians. While Domitian is preoccupied with Decebalus and the Dacians, a Roman governor in Germania seizes his chance to rebel. Domitian sends the young and loyal legionary commander named Trajan to restore order. The revolt is crushed, and the rebel leader taken captive.
Domestic problem that Domitian faced in 89 was apparently dissatisfaction among at least one of the commanders and his legions elsewhere in the European theater. This was the general Saturninus, who seems to have made an attempt to declare himself emperor while Domitian was preoccupied with the Dacian wars.
Trajan helps quell the Saturninus rebellion, winning greater recognition from the emperor.
As a reward, Domitian makes him consul in 91. And then it seems he's given probably 2 military governorships along the frontier, both of which required great skill and also granted to him great responsibility.
But for the Dacian king Decebalus, the Emperor Domitian's political and military problems provide an unexpected bonus. Domitian, an inept leader at best, suddenly feels vulnerable because of dissent in his ranks and the savagery of the Dacian resistance. Hoping to appease and control his defeated enemies, the insecure Domitian sends a messenger from Rome into Dacian territory, offering a generous treaty deal with the warrior king. It is a weak and cowardly solution.
Anytime a military leader settles with an enemy for anything less than total victory, it's always going to be open for his critics to complain that this amounts to a cowardice, to letting an enemy off the hook. Witness the criticism, both in the 90s and early into this decade, that was leveled at George H.W. Bush for allowing Saddam Hussein to remain in power after the first Gulf War.
In this strange reversal, Domitian's messenger delivers the spoils of war to his defeated enemy, according to historian Cassius Dio.
Domitian had given large sums of money to Decebalus on the spot, as well as artisans of every trade, pertaining to both peace and war, and promised to keep on giving large sums in the future.
Domitian squanders Rome's wealth to buy a barbarian's loyalty.
He was forced to cut a deal that was very unfavorable, and to the permanent detriment of his reputation, he had to grant the Dacians a tribute. He also had to send engineers and technicians, and in essence laid the foundation for a Dacian resurgence.
Then, in 89 AD, Emperor Domitian follows this display of Roman weakness with another foolish action. What he believes will be a show of Roman strength against other barbarians across the Danube. But Domitian underestimates their strength and devotes too few of his troops.
Domitian had felt that they had inadequately supported him during the initial stages of his Dacian campaign. So he launched a retaliatory attack on these 2 tribes, probably thinking that this would be a very fast-moving and easily resolved situation.
Rome suffers a humiliating loss.
Domitian, at this point, he's really on a downward spiral in a sense. Not only is he buying off Decebalus, there's rumors that he's triumphed over the Germans, but these are false triumphs, that he's been buying blonde wigs and dressing people up as Germans to carry in his triumphs, this sort of thing. Things are really on the skids for Domitian.
But not all of Domitian's enemies are on the frontier.
Domitian had a habit of killing off his relatives with fantastic regularity, and also, in moments of peak, as it seems, would discover, or claim to discover, conspiracies among senators. And this would lead to purges of the ranking membership of the Senate.